Welcome to ZKast, everyone. I'm Chris Bonavita from ZK Research, and I'm here at the RSA 2025 conference in San Francisco. I'm with Chris Bonavita from GTT. Chris, how you doing?
Doing very well, Ziz.
Yeah, so this is your first time on my show, and great to have you. Before we get started talking about security and networking and all those things, just a little bit of background on who you are and what GTT does.
Absolutely. So Chris Bonavita, Vice President of Strategy and Tech Adoption. What I do is kind of interface with the product development, product management folks at GTT and bring that out to the customers, folks like yourself, the market, and then I bring the voice of the customer back into our product development and product management. So I'm the interface back and forth between the market.
Okay, and GTT?
So GTT's been around for a very long time,
Yeah.
but we've kind of re-evolved and re-emerged over the last 3 years. We are a what we call a one-of-one infrastructure provider. So we do infrastructure as a service as access components, transport and IP components. But then we offer managed services in our Envision platform, which is an end-to-end WAN solution, cloud enablement solution.
Yeah, and I want to talk about that in a bit, but let's start with some high-level trends. I think security is an interesting inflection point with AI, cloud and things, and it seems that historically security has always been the siloed thing within organizations, right? It's the team that runs itself, and the network team has its own domain, but more and more I'm seeing those two domains come together, and I'm curious if that's what you're seeing as well.
Absolutely.
And what's driving it?
So we're in a unique position because our CISO and our CIO are the same person. So we have our infrastructure.
And that's rare, actually.
It's very rare. But it does take advantage of some of the trends that you mentioned. So bringing NOC and SOC functions together. You've heard it called SNOC or Fusion Center or Cyber Defense Center. In our world, that unification happens intrinsically to all of our network services. And we take the same data in, whether it's operational functional data or security data, it starts in the same point. And then we split it into the responsible areas, whether you're doing network optimization and assurance, or whether you're doing security. And then those two functions talk to each other immediately. So we have a swivel chair functionality in our unified NOC and SOC relationship. And so we feel that's a trend in the market. We're not the only ones doing this, but we have a unique way of impacting that with our Envision strategy.
Yeah, and why is that important today to bring NOC and SOC together?
The tremendous amount of data that's coming in, analyzing that appropriately.
So much data, right?
It's IT, OT, IoT, and whatever the other T is coming next that we don't even envision yet. Play on words. But because you have so much data coming in, being able to analyze it up front and routing it to the appropriate responsible party, what we found though is 70% of the security incidents that come into a SOC originate on an IP transit lane. So if your NOC and SOC aren't talking to each other, you get this running around a tree, and we've just simplified that.
Yeah, well in fact, you get a lot of finger pointing, and it's interesting when I talk to some of the vendors in the space, they talk about this term called mean time to innocence, where it's trying to prove it's not your fault, which I've always felt like that's the wrong way to handle this. It's like, it's not about punting the problem over the wall of somebody else, and just, it's not my fault. It's about actually solving the problem and discovering the root cause of threats and things, right?
Absolutely.
Yeah.
We talk a lot in the business, especially in the technology business, about the customer experience. But the customer experience starts with our experience, our internal experience. And so if we simplify the communication between NOC and SOC functions, we create a better internal experience, which creates a better external experience.
Yeah.
We're results-oriented then.
Yeah, okay. Now you mentioned Envision Edge, which at a high level is your software-defined platform for networking and security, but if you can drill down deep into that and talk about Envision Edge, how it works, how you help customers, it also helps how it helps you operationally.
Absolutely. So we've come to market with this Envision strategy, and it's kind of a term to coalesce the whole idea and the whole concept. But GTT's been doing this for 8 years. This is the 5th generation of our platform. And what differentiates the 4th from the 5th generation is increased compute at the edge, increased access types, multiple access types, now taking advantage of things like low Earth orbit, modernized Wi-Fi and modernized cellular, fixed data cellular, and combining that with multiple landline carriers and multiple fixed wire carriers. Putting all of that together at the edge and then managing on a universal CPE platform that allows to service chain across the best in breed software-defined platforms that are out there. We can put all that together at the edge and then tie that into our digital experience and our core, and now you've got a really wonderful package.
So you got more compute in more places enabled by more connectivity, and that really drove the need for software defined, because these monolithic systems that you deploy everywhere just don't scale, right?
The number of boxes needs to be reduced. The amount of power consumption needs to be reduced. We need to simplify, while all of this onslaught of data is happening, we need to simplify the means to collect it, to transport it, and to analyze it.
Yeah. What's interesting too, I was at Mobile World Congress earlier this year, and while the topic du jour there every year is telco transformation, the underlying theme was really operational simplicity and be able to reduce capital operational expenses. I'd be remiss, since you run strategy at GTT, if I didn't ask you about AI. Right, AI, in fact, if you go around the show floor, I'd say 90% of the booths have something AI.
Absolutely.
Right, now AI is kind of an interesting double-sided coin for security, because there's how I use security to secure my AI, but then there's also how AI changes security, right, and security operations. And so can you talk about both of those? And
Absolutely.
Start with how you're using AI to change the way security is done, and then let's talk about the other.
So GTT is a single ASN. So the infrastructure that we operate is very simple. Again, simply and securely connect people and data to their applications around the world, anywhere in the world. That's our mantra. But the simplification of a single ASN allows us to do things at scale much more simply as well internally. So in Envision Core, we're deploying AI operational excellence, AI operational analysis and functional controls. We combine that with our DX experience, digital experience, which is an AI stack that's building something of a cognitive network. The interface of those two things allows customer experience and network experience to meet in the middle. And that, again, creates network operational excellence, but it also gives you that added security view. Same data the whole point is the network and is your traffic behaving the way it's supposed to or not? You have operational considerations and security considerations on how you react to that.
And as you mentioned, with all the data, people simply can't understand that anymore with manual processing. Right?
So what's interesting is the oversight of AI is required.
Yeah.
There's still a human function to say, can I rationalize this into my expectations? AI is awesome at crunching large amounts of data. In fact, it gets better the more data you throw at it.
Yeah.
So we're throwing all of our data into our AI engines, allowing it to crunch it, rationalize it, and then present it back to humans that make rational decisions on what's the impact to the human experience.
Yeah, and do you envision a day where, I know agentic agents become very popular, and so the way I think about agentic agents is, the early use of AI was more the co-worker. It might give you some info, a SOC analyst, for instance, tell you that, hey, take a look at this, indication of compromise. But an agentic agent would actually take a look at it, have some reasoning, and complete it. And so where are we in that? And do you see a day where our SOC is run largely by agents, or what's the human, digital interplay here?
So as we continue to come to grips with all of this massive amount of data, we'll start to establish with AI, humans and AI will start to establish those baselines. And anything that's a baseline, massive petabytes amount of data, AI is going to be functionally responsible for that when it's consistent. When it's managing a consistent behavior. When you have the abnormalities, when you have something that's happening that's unexpected, that's where humans and AI still have to interface. Because what is the AI will tell you this is not the behavior that was anticipated, but what to do about it still needs some refinement.
Yeah.
Eventually, that'll get further along the line. We already see MDR optimization path and automation path that takes care of a lot of we talk about, let's not forget about the basics. Things like DDoS attacks. When you see an origination of a DDoS attack, the number of attacks are astronomically more. But the sophistication of those DDoS attacks, it's really a precursor. It's not that sophisticated. So you can have your MDR platform and your AI platform look at that, and in some cases handle it. Trigger DDoS mitigation, trigger the clean return path, and automate some of that.
Yeah, and your customers, where are their heads with AI? Do they, do they want to
swimming like all of us?
Yeah. Well, and in fact, I was sort of joking with somebody that within the context of security, customers are coming here trying to figure out what to do with AI, and they're going to leave more confused than when they got here.
There are far more questions being asked here than answers provided, but there is progress. And the good news is that there is progress, and there's some tremendously smart people that are collaborating. One of the things that we really enjoy about this market is we have our own business.
Yeah.
We want to run a profitable business, but the collaboration around AI, the necessity to collaborate, brings us together. So what we see is generative AI was released as a wonderful tool, but then it created its own security implications. We're starting to get ahead of that now. There's some questions to be answered, but we're starting to get ahead of that. The combination of the AI tools that crunch all the data for operational excellence, those are starting to impact security now, just now. So there is a light at the end of the tunnel.
So it's coming, and I do think it's important the industry not oversell it like the way self-driving cars were initially, but help people progress to, using AI to maybe incrementally run security, diagnose information better with an eye towards full automation. But it's coming. Like, I think we can see a horizon when that happens, but who knows? Yeah.
The other really cool thing that's happening right now, especially within our GTT network.
You got cheers to that.
Absolutely. I'm seeing there's some competition.
Yeah.
Is the fact that we're deploying this AI enablement and virtualization at scale. So you can create environments where you can see the implications separate from your core or your primary operating facility. So when you create these virtualized environments, you can start looking at these hypotheticals, test them, and you're not impacted by any negative thing in your production environment.
Yeah, okay. Last topic I want to talk to you about is visibility versus observability, right? So everyone talked about why you needed visibility for a long time. Observability a couple of years ago became the hot topic, although I would argue that most companies out here that offer observability is just kind of repackaged visibility. And so talk about the difference between the two and what's driving the shift to observability.
So again, it comes back to the onslaught of data and the unification of security and operational optimization. So how GTT defines the difference between visibility and observability. Visibility, you're making sure that you see everything you should be seeing, that I can see everything. So that's a task in and of itself. But observability, as we define it, is being able to match that with human and AI tools, match the behaviors that are expected, and then be able to take meaningful, timely action on that data against the behaviors. So you're not changing the entire world, but if the behaviors are not meeting the expectation, observability means I can match that against expectations and act on it quickly.
Yeah, no, and I think again, as we get into more of an automated AI-driven world, the causality of why things happen needs to become more important, right? And
absolutely.
So,
absolutely. There's a lot of analysis yet to be done on what's the best way to attack that, but we have a great baseline. The data ingestion and proactive monitoring, proactive alerting is at a level now that is better than it's ever been before.
Yeah, and actually I do got one more question. You run strategy. In this world where, you use multiple tools to run your own environment, where every tool vendor has its own agent, what happens there? Do we have tools talking to agents talking to agents? Do we have one super agent to rule them all? Does a company like yourself have to build your own super agent to understand these agents? What I don't want to see happen is for a SOC analyst to have 100 agents telling 100 different things, often which are conflicting.
So the logic behind this is that these are still graduated tools that are at your disposal, that still have to have human rationalization around how they're used and how they're deployed. You still have to have that oversight. And even when we get further into automation, there still has to be human oversight of what the machines are doing. Yeah. The AI to AI conversation, without getting into science fiction, the AI to AI conversation, again, is really, really powerful in the virtualized environments, where you can let it behave, but keep it separate from your production environment as much as possible for now. And then once it proves out, then you can gradually include that in your production environment.
All right. Thanks. And we'll see how it progresses. But,
exactly.
There's going to be some form of that. So
we need to keep an eye on it. If they're keeping an ie on us, we need to look back at them.
All right. Anything else you want to add?
I really appreciate the opportunity to speak with you, and I really appreciate this show. It's huge. And we have a tremendous turnout here, and a lot of these topics we're going to maybe get some more answers.
Well, maybe. It's I swear to God, every year the show gets bigger, and I guess that just drives the need for more AI, because I don't see how any organization is going to deploy all this stuff and make sense of it. So.
Well, GTT, we're trying to keep it simple, trying to keep a baseline so that everybody can get creative on top of that infrastructure. And we're really excited about what we're offering to the show.
Yeah, and in fact, I'm glad you're doing some of the things you're doing, because I ran a survey last year that showed, I surveyed about 500 C-level executives. 93% said the network's more important to their business operations than 2 years ago. but I think it was 80 some odd percent said it was also more complex. And so if we don't solve the complexity, right, that problem of...
we see that as a great business opportunity.
Yeah,
so we're investing a lot in it. Thank you very much.
Thanks. So on behalf of Christopher Bonavita from GTT, I'm Zias Caravallo from ZK Research, saying thanks for watching. Hit that subscribe button. I'll see you next time on the next episode of ZKast. Thanks.